on the specs of the Argo, if I think there's no real lore canon around it. So if I go beyond the GM's expectation, just cut me off and tell me, how full of shit I am.
No, it's bullshit all the way down. But yeah, the stream and the recording should be going. So welcome back, guys, to our 13th session of the Ophion Adventures. The only point of order I have 2 points of order now that I think about it. The first is obviously Mirthrin is unavailable this weekend, so we're probably not going to see him. Though if he randomly shows up, I'm not going to complain. The second thing is obviously we got 7 applications for the guest character slot. I keep meaning to get to them, at a good time when everybody's online, but I keep seeming to run into other things to do. But hopefully I'll get to those applications sometime this upcoming week, and basically just wait to hear from me. Unless anyone else has any announcements of their own, I think we're ready for the captain's log.
All right. Captain's log, stardate 55001.8. It seems that I have spoken more of the Andromeda Galaxy to various members of Starfleet in the last week than most scientists have in their entire lifetime. It seems, though, that most of the attention is currently focused on Voyager's return, and justifiably so. Finally, we are preparing to leave Deep Space Daedalus after some much-needed rest and relaxation for the crew. Hopefully, we will be focused for our next mission. As far as most of the crew is concerned, we will be investigating the sudden implosion of the star in the Grion system. The Romulan involvement shall remain confidential until we gain more insight as to their motivations and further activities. I admit to being nervous, though. I've never dealt with Romulans in a diplomatic situation. However, I have full confidence in my crew to identify any other motivations they may have. Meanwhile, we have received our new support vessel, and I look forward to seeing what the Ophion's crew can do with it. End log.
Okay. So, as the captain's log indicates, we are going to start our lovely session today with all of you in the shuttle bay. I know this is Enterprise D's shuttle bay, but, best thing I could find. The Argo shuttle has just been delivered, and at the captain's request, everyone, including Beckett, is indeed there. Just as another point of order, you guys have about an hour and a half to an hour before the Ophion is scheduled to leave DSD. So I'm gonna let the captain do the talking now, since it's his filibuster that he wants to do.
All right, assembled crew, officers, engineering, and shuttle bay operators. Might I introduce Starfleet's latest in shuttle design, the codenamed Argo class. Officially, it's going to be on the manifest as a Type 17 heavy hauler shuttle. However, confidentially, it was like most of Starfleet's modern day ships. It was designed with a little more of an aggressive front, or aggressive focus. It was designed to drop and retrieve materiel and personnel into combat zones against the Dominion. It has lightweight ablative armor, which should shrug off most small arm and medium arm cannon fire from the surface. And it should be tough enough to actually survive some time in a class-wide planet before hull compromised. Not very fast, it can only go warp 2. However, the back section is what I'm most interested in and what piqued my interest of this vessel. Inside, it boasts a small deployable 3-person vehicle. Again, with the warfare in mind, the vehicle comes standard with a rear-mounted phaser cannon. Starfleet's intention, should the war have dragged on further, was to deploy troops and vehicles behind Dominion lines and harass them. However, we're no longer at war. So the primary reason I took this vessel is to see what we can do with it. For example, my first thought is to remove the phaser cannon in the back. I'd like to turn this into a planetary scanning vehicle, if at all possible. And in the meantime, the reason I asked you down here, Commander Beckett, is to see if you can work with Locke and Mirthrin to see if we can design an evacuation module in case we are called to do a medevacs or field triage.
I heard Beckett for a second.
Yep. That is something we can absolutely do.
Wonderful. Judging from my previous decision, there is a significant concern that Starfleet's focus is becoming a more warlike, and on this ship, I'd like to stand against that. Yes, we have had some rough years with the Dominion, the Borg, and the Cardassians earlier on, but I believe that Starfleet's worst times are behind us for now, and I'd like to repurpose some of this stuff, some of this war material, into tools that can actually help science and individuals. So I'm leaving it up to departments to see what we can do with this, and well, any recommendations you have, feel free to drop by.
Panek is going to walk out and find a replicator, and then replicate a bottle of champagne.
Okay. Yeah, that's easy enough to do.
Yep.
Are you going to pick a good vintage or a bad vintage?
Oh.
Considering what I think he's planning on doing with it, I suggest a bad vintage, but...
And then I'm going to present it to the captain, and I'm going to say, I believe it is an old Earth naval custom for the captain to christen a new vessel.
Very well. I think I know what to do with this. The captain is going to walk up to the ship, find some place that doesn't look too fragile, which is probably most of it, since most of it's armored.
Mm-hmm.
Give it a good smash.
Nice. Just for shits and giggles, and because this is a good momentum generator, roll me a daring plus security roll, please. The difficulty is a 0.
And this is when the captain loses his hand or something.
I've never wanted more 20s than I have before.
Daring plus, okay. Daring plus security. I do not have any good focus for that.
No champagne bottle focus?
I was tempted to take functioning alcoholism, but I decided not to.
You mean you don't have christening ships as a focus?
No.
Oh, well, hey, would you look at that? That's 2 successes and thus 2 momentum.
It's almost like I practiced this.
Yeah, so, Captain Skull, you go up to it, you give the shuttle a big whack with the bottle of champagne, and it shatters in all the right ways. And the other crew who are present give a very polite clap. And Prag, who I probably should have put a token down for, Prag just kind of looks a little bit, how do I say this? He looks on with approval, and he just kind of nods in that stereotypical Tellarite way.
I'll accept that as a high compliment from Mr. Prag. And yeah, so feel free to give the ship a good thorough once over. If you have any feedback on how we can improve this flying brick, you guys know where to find me. Dismissed.
All right. So as the crew begins to filter out, Prag does try to snag Panek before he wanders off.
Chief, is there something you wanted?
Perhaps we should discuss this in your office, sir.
Very well.
All right. So, there it is. We're just going to reuse this ready room because it's a nice small ready room and it would fit. But yeah, Panek and Prag, you journey to your office. And once the doors are closed, Prag kind of pulls out a data pad and pushes it across the table to you and says, Murthrin was going to bring this up, but since he's extremely busy with the recent retrofit, I guess it's my job to do this. To put it simply, sir, we're thinking of putting Zenixia on the duty shift officially. Only problem is we don't know how to treat her rank. I'm sure that you're well aware of her psychic abilities. And again, to put it bluntly, she might as well be a wet behind the ears ensign in terms of practical experience, but in overall knowledge. And he kind of bites his lip and very begrudgingly admits she might know as much as myself and Murthrin by now. So we're just wondering what sort of rank we should treat her as.
For right now, continue associating her with her current status. I will bring this before the captain and discuss whether or not we would like to field promote her at all. How are the retrofits coming, by the way, Chief?
They're going good. We just did a full rehaul of the sensor arrays. Sensors and phaser arrays. Sorry. Both should be performing at much better capacity and what's the word? With more precision. The weapons, in particular, were fit across all 3 sections of the Ophion, and the sensors as well. So, should we need to split the ship up again, like we did in a certain classified situation, we should be prepared both as a exploration and defensive vessel.
Very well, Chief. Thank you. You're dismissed. And then I'll gather the data pad and walk out right behind him, heading for the captain.
Okay. Where would you like to flag the captain down?
Oh, I guess his room, ready room, wherever he is.
All right. Captain, ready room sound good?
Ready room works for me.
All right, we go to this ready room. And would you look at that? Pinnock's already there.
And I'll come in. Captain, do you have a moment?
Of course. What can I do for you?
Data pads with me, by the way. Well, first, Chief Prag has brought to my attention that we will be adding Zenixia to the standard duty roster, and that she does not have a formal rank among the crew.
I've been looking into that myself. Given that she hasn't attended Starfleet Academy, it doesn't seem fair to assign her an official rank. Even though you and I both know that she could probably get one, graduate, and receive a rank fairly quickly and easily. I was looking into the role of civilian specialists that typically can serve alongside crews for long periods of time, such as this 7 of 9 character who held the rank of Specialist Advisor, I believe.
Oh, yes, this freed Borg that Voyager came across.
Yes, it's
quite
granted,
a security risk.
Well, according to what I've read up on her files that aren't fully classified, she has proven herself and her loyalty to Janeway, at least, probably the Federation. But you can bet that she's under you can bet that Starfleet Intelligence and Security has her under a microscope now that she's back on Earth. But I'm all for having a non-commissioned, perhaps a specialist role?
So a non-commissioned civilian specialist.
Yes, at least until she's able to attend Starfleet Academy, or at least maybe she could just maybe she can just challenge the final exam in a couple years using her shipboard experience as as credit.
Very well. I will present to this development to Zenixia and the engineering team in due time. However, I'm here for another reason, Captain.
Yes.
When we were informed of the Ophion's secondary mission order with regard to the DMZ, I thought it would be prudent to gain some insight into the culture behind the two empires we would be encountering there. And if it is not too forward of me, Captain, I have some suggested reading materials for you. And I'll hold out one of the data pads.
I'll accept it and see what's on it.
This is the Kesa, the Klingon. It's the translated from Klingon. It means the indispensable advice. It is a set of 10 precepts written by Kalis himself.
Hmm.
They are the basis for the Klingon warrior code.
I have heard of the text. I must admit I haven't fully read it myself.
And then I'll hold out the other data pad and say this one is much more relevant.
Okay.
It is the Dara, the virtues of the way. The four guiding principles for Romulan society. Of particular note is the fourth principle of fidelity. It seems to be the basis for the outsider view that Romulans are duplicitous.
An interesting series of tenets. I'm surprised obey the Tal Shiar without question isn't one of them.
Believe me, it is the principles themselves are set towards loyalty to the state. So,
Seemingly, and I guess if they're acting on, anyways, very good advice. Thank you, Commander.
No trouble, Captain. I want us to be as prepared as possible for whatever comes.
You and me both.
That is all, Captain.
Out of curiosity, you are of course fully briefed on the initial encounter between the Prometheus and the Romulans.
Indeed.
Do you believe that the Romulans would have classified that encounter since they came off as the losing side?
Considering how their society is set up, I do not believe it would be widely dispersed as common knowledge. Certainly, the Tal Shiar does not advertise its failures beyond its own halls.
I'm just wondering if whoever we meet would have any inclination of our multi-vector mode.
Considering the circumstance we happen to find ourselves in, the investigation we are pursuing, I find it more than likely the Tal Shiar are behind this. They have the capability to smuggle the Trilithium into this sector, and the wherewithal to use it as they have.
Yes, so our ace in the hole is probably not going to be worth much as a surprise.
It still presents a formidable force.
Agreed, unless they bring 3 warbirds. Either way.
Thank you, Captain. I will take air development of rank to Zenixia Post-Ace.
Thank you, Lieutenant Commander. I'll get I've just had a brain fart. I'm sorry. I'll get Lieutenant Locke's working on seeing if there's new methods to work on detecting Romulan cloaking signatures, just in case.
And if there are any particular readings based on Trilithium, if we could track their remaining quantity of Trilithium, that would help us both in locating them and a possible next target.
Yes, I'll see if any of his past contacts might have experience with that.
Thank you, Captain, and then I'll leave.
Thank you for coming by.
All right. I did want to open the floor. In this last hour before the Ophion leaves, did anyone, Beckett, Locke, Skull, Panek, did anyone have any other bits of RP that they wanted to do before you left the station.
I'm good for now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, in that case, we will skip a little bit ahead to the Ophion leaving. With all of you at your stations, mostly those of you except Murthrin and Beckett are on the bridge, you see the view screen, and the Ophion begins to disconnect from Deep Space Daedalus. And on cue, the exterior running lights illuminate once more, and the glow of the nacelles intensifies. Within moments, Sona has plotted and executed a course towards the Grion system. DSD falls behind you on the main view screen, growing smaller and smaller until it vanishes as the Ophion jumps to warp. And once this jump has occurred, Sona tilts her head a little bit to the side and says, Captain, our estimated time to arrival is approximately 6 days, 23 hours, 5 minutes, and 6 seconds.
Thank you. Any reports of what the Klingons have been doing in the meantime?
Shatsu replies from behind you, and she says, as far as we're aware, sir, the only Klingon activity is increased patrols along the border. As far as we know, I don't think they're doing anything more than that.
Good.
What is their current warp factor?
Sona reports our current warp factor is warp 9.975.
And we are want to get there in a hurry. I can understand that.
And yeah. So, obviously, you guys have a week to do any RP that you might wish to do during this interim period. And I've got a few ideas for some scenes if you guys are completely fine with just skipping ahead. It's up to you guys. So, open floor, any scenes, any bits of RP, etc., etc.
I have something I'd like to do with Beckett.
Okay. In sickbay?
No, actually after hours.
Okay.
In his quarters, if he's amenable to after hours visits.
I don't think I
sure.
have. I don't think I have a map for this. We'll just have to use the ear of the mind. So
Very
yeah,
well.
go ahead, play out the scene as you wish.
All right. Captain's going to show up in casual wear. He'll chime the door.
Come in.
All right. I enter with a rather. It's obviously a replicated version of. No, we just left Daedalus. So, yeah, the bet with the Kodiak came through, and Doctor, as you may have heard, I've received the wager from the captain of the Kodiak over which ship would have the most interesting scientific find. And I bring you a bottle of Romulan port, or not Romulan, Vulcan port.
Oh, well, let me get a couple of glasses.
Yes.
And I'll get up and grab a couple of wine glasses or replicate them if I don't have them.
All right,
I assume
easy
there's some sort of chairs to sit around.
Oh yeah,
Of course.
he's got an officer's quarters, so there is definitely room in here.
While he's up, Doctor, I have a bit of a xenobiology fact that you are probably not aware of.
Well, Captain, I do know your spots go all the way down.
No, I'm talking about the symbiote itself.
Okay, do tell.
Did you know that there are only 25 people in the known universe that know how these bloody things reproduce?
That is a fact I did not know.
Yes. Other doctors, apparently, the tribe of Trill that maintained them, called the Keepers, keep such medicinal and scientific information completely oral. Then they will not pass them along to any outsiders.
Seems like Beckett will smirk and say, seems like a good form of job security.
I mean, when you have an entire society that seems to run on these bloody things. No offense there, Skull. I poked my stomach in good nature. It's just... Yeah, so... If you ever want to find out how the symbiotes reproduce, you just have to find and marry a keeper.
Oh, well... I mean, if I ever decide to settle down.
Yeah, not in our nature, is it?
Nope. I used to have a captain that said once you got over the rank of lieutenant commander, the job ended up being your bride.
That's an interesting phrase. And considering that I've never actually married, I would have to say that's about right.
Well, I mean, we are two fine examples to prove that theory.
Agreed. Raise a glass and toast.
Clink
To the
glasses?
To the future, and hopefully we don't blow up any Romulans.
I'll clink glasses and then kind of look at him while I'm taking a drink. I thought that was the idea.
Well, as our chief engineer has proven, at least on one occasion already, we can go in with every best intent, but sometimes things happen.
Well, we know we have a very effective maneuver should things go south.
That is true. Anyways, Doctor, second unofficial reason for my visit is I'm sort of just going around performing 6-month crew or senior staff audits. And, well, given what's happened to us in the last month, I've come to realize that not all of us are out here for the same reason. And I'm here to learn the one important thing that doesn't appear on officers' files. Can I ask why you joined Starfleet?
Well, I mean, to be honest, both my parents were in Starfleet. So it kind of seemed like the family thing to do. I mean, there's not much else to do on a starbase other than either get a job working in the bar or loading or offloading ships or join Starfleet.
I can see which one is the more entertaining. Although, given your newfound hobby of ale brewing, I think should this fall through, at least you can go back to being a bartender.
You know, I've always had that dream of maybe Quark will sell me his bar on DS9, or maybe I'll take over the one at DSD.
Well, after that whole Ferengi change with his brother becoming Grand Nagus, you never know what'll happen with the Ferengi.
True. Very true. I mean, I hear they're even letting women wear clothes.
That would be a first.
Very much so. But, no, I mean, other than it being the family business, you know, I know it's cliche to say, but both my parents were doctors, and becoming a doctor in Starfleet was kind of what I was pushed to do, and I've taken to it well. I like helping people. But yeah, I guess that's the real reason.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad to have you on board.
And I'm glad to be here.
Now let's go out and see who else we can help along the way, shall we?
That's why we're here, after all, isn't it?
One of many. One of many. And that'll be seen, unless Beckett has anything.
No.
Cool.
All right.
We'll down half the port, and I'll try to walk back with a stable gait in my step.
Actually, if I remember how symbiotes work, you have better alcohol tolerance than most.
Oh yes.
Fun little
Maybe I
troll
should.
fact.
Maybe I should take the functioning alcoholic.
Well, Barton is okay. Skull is swimming.
Oh, Skull.
I'm sure they're fine. They're fine.
They've been through worse.
All right. So the next scene I had in mind, Locke, you get a encrypted communique from Utopia Planitia.
Pull it up as text to see who it's from first.
It is from one of your previous coworkers, Lieutenant Rhinus.
Right. Is it kind of an audio communication or just kind of like a...
Oh, it's a request for real-time, like face-to-face type thing.
Okay, let's turn the Captain, can I take a brief call in the aft section there? I believe it is relevant to the mission at hand.
I believe so. Permission granted.
With Pinx proximity, I'm going to be keeping my ears very open.
Okay. I'm going to say, just for sake of argument here, because there is a need for semi-private conversation sometimes, that doorway that leads to the aft section can be sealed. And it functionally makes it so that the room is quote-unquote airtight and does not leak any sound.
I activate the cone of silence then.
Okay. The cone of
Stall
silence
those.
happens. But yeah.
Go.
Go ahead.
I have some privacy. This is a beep 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 secure channel.
So you on the view screen, a Dutchman appears on the screen. Rhinus looks about the same as you remember him. Fairly fit, 30-year-old human male. He used to work with you in Blackhall, and I would qualify your relationship to be one of how do I say this? You maybe didn't go out for drinks with him, but he was a fair enough coworker and a pleasant enough individual that you guys had some, nice conversations, that sort of thing. And when Rhinus sees you, he says, Locke, it's good to see you. How are you doing? How is the Ophion going?
It's good. Rhinus, good. I've missed our lunch hour conversations, Bates.
Oh, I too. Ever since you left, I've been pining for someone to debate at lunch and haven't found a single soul to do it yet.
Yes, I imagine Douglas is just a little harder to debate. The genetic modification and all. It's hard to keep up with her.
Well, that and she likes to go off on random tangents, but anyways, perhaps I should get to the reason I've called.
Yes, that's good.
So, obviously I heard about the Ophion's new assignment by channels you can imagine. I did a little bit of digging, and I thought you might want to know, and you can of course bring this up to your captain if you so wish.
What do you have?
Well,
To hear.
I've got two strangely out of character things for you. The first is that Klingon intelligence had both the knowledge and several opportunities to intercept the Trilithium shipment before it reached the Semperia sector. And they've not said a single word about the Grion incident. And combined, that, well, you know who we used to work for, who you used to work for. That just makes me think that they might be in on it.
Doesn't seem like the Klingons and Romulans to work together. That would be very unusual.
Unusual, perhaps, but not impossible.
Good to know. I will take that under advisement. More probable that the Klingons are waiting for us to get involved, not viewing it as their problem. But they could surprise us still. Klingons are unpredictable.
Indeed. Oh, one other thing. You know that project you were working on right before you left?
Yes.
I'm happy to say that we just launched it the other day.
Oh, excellent. That's I'm mixed feelings about that. That's okay. Good to know. I'm glad that the work was successful.
Indeed. Well, this has been an enlightening conversation, but I need to run before a certain supervisor starts breathing down my neck.
Great to hear from you. Give me a call some other time.
Excellent. Rhinus out. And the screen goes dark.
All right. Wait a couple seconds. Unsecure the line and turn to my station.
Okay. All right. Open the floor for any other scenes that the players want to do before I do another GM to player scene.
So, Captain, you were
Yes.
asked me to look into methods to get past Romulan cloaks.
Yes, if you happen to have any new insights, please let me know.
Do you have a few ideas? I like tinkering and throwing random stuff together. Are you aware of the Commander LaForge's tachyon sweeps for detecting cloaked vessels?
Yes, I believe those became fleet standard.
Yes. It occurred to me if we modified a, say, Class 5 medium-range reconnaissance probe to emit tachyon beams in kind of a wide net angle, it would possibly do the same thing for a single ship. So we'd need to be in roughly the same area, and because they'd be angled, it'd have a very short operational range compared to a group of ships. But if we needed to narrow down the location of a cloak vessel, that would be one way.
I seem to recall reading about one of those where they set up a dragnet between ships using I believe there were tachyon fields
Yes.
between them. Is this a similar thing?
Same thing, but instead of having a web between ships, you just have a single probe emitting the tachyon beams in a whole bunch of different points, say a dozen different angles, and shoots that out. And if any ship passes by the beam, the probe lets us know.
Sounds like a good idea to me.
It will take some time to modify the probes, and we'd only have so many, but it might narrow it down.
Now we have 6 days, so feel free to make use of whatever time, material, and personnel you need.
So the other option, cloaking shields, of course, create a kind of a field that mirrors the environment around them. Another thing we could do is introduce a whole lot of chaotic elements to the atmosphere. If we vent the Bussard collectors in the front and fire off some random projectiles and just basically fill the immediate space with random stuff, it'll make it significantly harder for the cloak to maintain the invisibility shields. There'll be too many points in raw data to create a convincing illusion, which might provide a disruptive area. We might be able to see the distortion more. But again, extremely close range.
So throw a bag of flour, and where the flour disappears,
Where you
That's
can see
where
the
the-
shimmer in the flower. But yeah, it's the same thing. It'll overload their processing because there's so many points to keep track of.
Connect will interrupt, and he'll say, the latter seems to be a tactic more suited to using when we are aware that there is a cloaked vessel within proximity, but are unable to locate it.
yes, one seems more proactive, the other more reactive, but both have their tactical uses.
And we, of course, should also probably set up the 3 ships to work together as a grid, the tachyon sweep as well. So if we can separate and use the ships to make the dragnet.
Good ideas. Let's put Murthrin and the engineering team on it. I'm sure he is in need of another major project.
With your permission, Captain, I will inform the bridge duty shift commanders of these added tactics.
Of course.
I'd also like to help out. I'm good at tinkering a little bit and can probably help modify the Class 3 probes.
Well, that was your idea. That was more expected.
So I head off to perform some surgery on a probe.
Okay. I'm not going to have you roll for it. You got 6 days. I think you can figure out how to do it. So actually, the next scene I have in mind is in sickbay. So Beckett, you are, and you'll have to excuse me. I've got to scroll through some maps here. Beckett, you and Vara are doing your usual data shift, or not usual daily shift in sickbay, and a surprising visitor comes in. It is Lieutenant Sona, and she doesn't say anything, but she approaches your desk.
Lieutenant, is everything all right?
I believe it is, but I wish to consult you on a matter that I believe you would have good insight in.
Okay, please sit. How can I help?
Well, as you well know, I am a Maddox-type android, and my design was heavily based on Dr. Soong's work with data and lore. And Maddox, my quote-unquote father, provided me with notes and logs from Data himself. However, I've reached the end of material from such logs and notes, and to put it bluntly, I lack practical experience in matters concerning any sort of emotion, and I am unsure if I am capable of living up to Data's example.
And how can I help?
Well, as both ship's doctor and third in command of the Ophion, I thought that you might have better insight into who I might be able to associate with, or activities on board that would help enrich my knowledge of this area.
Well, if it's... I would say that the ship's counselor would probably be a good choice. She deals with deals a lot with people's emotions, and how to keep them in check. As far as maybe social interaction, maybe going to the duck and just, as they say, people watch and just see people's emotional responses to different stimuli. I don't mean to go in and splash a drink at someone and see how they react to it, but just observation. Even as children, most, I would say almost all biological species learn emotional cues from watching other people, or more importantly, their parents.
That is as Lieutenant Commander Pernek would say, that is a logical viewpoint.
Sometimes I can be kind of logical.
Indeed. I believe I will do this people-watching thing. Thank you, Commander. I appreciate your insight and advice.
Of course. If there's anything else I can help with, feel free to come back, or track me down somewhere.
Indeed. And she stands up, nods very respectfully, and then just kind of wanders out of sickbay. And Vara just kind of looks over from the samples she was working on and says, "So, did an android just come in here asking how to feel things?"
Yes. I think that would be a good way of putting it, yes.
Good, so I wasn't just hallucinating the last 5 minutes.
No. Not this time, anyways.
Oh. Then she just goes back to her samples. Alright. Another opportunity for player RP before I do one last kind of player to GM RP.
No, I got nothing.
Okay. So, very similarly to Locke, Captain, you're going to get a communique, and I'm just going to preemptively put you on this map. You get a unencrypted communique from one of Tezzy Skull's great grandchildren.
Interesting. Okay. And what does... Is it in text or...
Oh, it's another face-to-face kind of request.
All right. Put them up.
Okay. So the great-grandchild in particular is named Sinu. And either by just because of your knowledge and how Trill families work, you would know that he's a fledgling adult at the age of 19. He's a fairly scrawny-looking individual. He needs some meat on his bones type of a thing. But as the view screen activates and you see each other, he says, Captain Skull, thank you for taking the time to talk with me.
Hello, Sanu. And what can I do for you?
Well, I'm thinking about attending Starfleet Academy. I thought I'd ask the current Skull host about it since, the symbiote's experience with it, and because your work in particular, sir, within the Sabine Expanse is very popular reading back home.
I was unaware I was becoming a celebrity back home. I think Tezzy would have enjoyed that.
Yes,
or found the irony. One or the other.
Probably a little bit of both, from what I know of her.
Very well. What's your field of interest there?
I was thinking astrophysics.
Well, I've got a couple host experience of that. Yes. I mean, I'm sure the standards are higher now than they were when I first attended, because back then they would just take anyone, apparently. I mean, they brought me in, so I was not the best or brightest at the time.
Well, I'm curious. What is Starfleet Academy like? Is it as bad as some ensigns I've talked to say, or is it simply if you apply yourself, you will succeed type deal?
Starfleet Academy is whatever you want it to be. Plain and simple. If you apply yourself, you will succeed. If you let yourself get distracted, you will have the best 2 years of your life before you are forced to drop out. But man, those years will be fun. You will meet people of races you hadn't even heard of. You will meet professors, both good and bad. You may even get a glimpse of Jean-Luc Picard or the returning Captain Janeway on premises. You won't actually be able to get close to them, but you can at least see them.
That would be really cool. I'd love to at least see the legendary Captain Picard.
No, every Starfleet officer who's made anything with their career started off in Starfleet Academy. Most of them did a good deal of proper book work, learning, etc. But between you and me, if you focus too much on the book work and the academia, you will lose everything else. You will miss out on everything else that San Francisco and the heart of Earth provides.
Sort of I believe the human expression is all work and no play would be a bad thing here.
Precisely. If you need a recommendation, I'd be more than happy to review your practicum and your schoolwork during my downtime, and I could submit a recommendation.
I honestly wasn't thinking of that, but I would love such a recommendation. I can send that along right away.
I would be greatly appreciated. We're about to head into a mission, so it may be a few days before I can get back to you. But I'll reach out to the Trill the Trill Science Commission to pass along any other information I may have.
Right. Well, thank you, great grand. Do I call you great grandmother or?
To be honest, just acknowledging the fact that part of me was your great-grandmother would be enough.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your time. And then, yeah.
Cute kid.
Oh, go ahead.
Cute kid.
Yeah, he's a little bit of a nervous wreck, but what can you do? Anyways, last call for any bits of RP before I skip to a bit of a sub scene here. Okay, so as the Ophion approaches the Grion system, you're about 2 days out from the system, so you've been traveling in the DMZ for a couple of days. Locke, since you are still on the bridge during Alpha Shift, unless something has drastically changed that I'm unaware of.
Assuming my work on the probes is done, then yeah.
Yeah, you've definitely knocked out. We'll say you've gotten 5 probes done. Your sensors, Locke, are detecting a Klingon Burrell-class bird of prey that is drifting in space. Obviously, you can't get a full reading because you're at warp and you're heading towards them, but from what you're able to tell, is that their engines appear to be shot and that they're leaking plasma into space.
Captain, detecting a Klingon bird of prey, Burrell class. Looks like it's venting plasma and disabled.
Are they transmitting anything?
The answer is at the moment they are not.
No, not detecting any distress calls from them. The crew might be unconscious, or they could be trying to die Klingon-like.
Very well. Bring us out of warp. Bring us alongside them and scan for life forms and open hailing frequencies.
All right. Again, I'll have to put you momentarily on this page.
Captain.
Sorry, what was that, Panek?
I recommend we go in with shields up.
Very well. Raise shields.
Captain, if they are disabled, they might need emergency transport, which the shields would get interfered with. Yellow alert might be enough.
Yellow alert, but keep your finger on that shield button.
All right. So yeah, the Ophion drops out of warp a couple thousand kilometers off of this bird of prey, and now that you're in range, within how do I say this? Their long range, subspace communicator, and I'm just going to give this to you for free. Their communicator is shot, so they only have local system type communications.
Scan the ship. Downs. Are any scans of weapons fire?
That I will say will take a roll. So,
I figured
Locke,
as much.
Yep.
I think you know what to do at this point. Who would like to roll for the ship?
I can do that.
Okay. The ship is assisting with sensors plus science.
All right, let's put these newly upgraded sensors to...
A nice, good, tight scan of the ship.
Yep. And the difficulty here is only a 1, so you're already at 1 momentum.
Sensors of science.
Alright, so you guys are up to, we'll say 3 momentum, since we did do a scene change. What you're going to learn, Locke, is that there are, how do I say this? Life support is at a bare minimum, but it is functional. There are approximately 14 Klingons that are reading on life signs. That's probably about half the crew missing, if I remember the crew complement correctly. And you are able to tell that there was some sort of explosion in the engine compartment, which has led to the ship being drifting in space.
I'm detecting heavy damage. There's over a dozen life signs. Signs of weapon fire, which is not unusual for a Klingon bird of prey.
Very well. Can you tell if they're able to receive communications?
I think they're limited to internal ship communications only. I think their external communications are down. They might still be able to receive us.
Very well. Let's do our best not to surprise them with a surprise transporter effect. Open hailing frequencies, please.
All right, hailing frequencies are open.
This is Captain Barton Skull of the USS Ophion to the damaged Klingon Burrell class. If you are able to receive us and understand us, we are sending a shuttle with medical and engineering teams to assist.
So actually, the view screen kind of shifts, and you see the interior of a Klingon bridge. Now, obviously, the picture is a little bit staticky, and it cuts out a few times, but you're more or less able to see a female Klingon sitting in the captain's chair, and she stands, and she says, "I am Commander Og of the IKS Hosnagib. It is good to see you, Mr. Skull, or Captain Skull."
Communications are functional. Fantastic. Are you in need of medical or engineering assistance?
Yes, we are in dire need of engineering assistant. As you probably can tell, our engine compartment suffered some damage. We were attacked by a Romulan Derek's class warbird, and we fought valiantly as any Klingon would, and we managed to scare them off by threatening to use the Cobramite device.
Oh yes, the Cobramite device. Very well. I can send some engineers over. Do you need medical assistance?
No. We are fully capable of taking care of our own. No offense meant.
No offense taken. We'll send some engineers over within a few minutes.
Excellent. Og out. And the view screen shifts back to an external shot of the bird of prey. And I would like Skull at the very least. Panek, I'll let you do this too. I'll let Locke do it too. Well, let's put it this way. Only one of you is going to be able to roll for this, and the others will assist. Okay. And I believe the particular role in question here will be an insight plus command.
I was just about to ask if I could roll that, because she seems awfully amenable for a Klingon.
Very.
Yeah. The difficulty here will be a 2.
Insight plus.
Would my diplomacy focus factor in?
I'm gonna say no, but if you have something along the lines of people reading, or well, I guess Mirthrin isn't here, so he can't give you the Betazoid connection. Yeah, either like people reading or scrutiny or something that would be, reading body language and tone of inflection, things of that nature.
Okay.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, we have one success. Who would like to assist? The captain or Locke?
I can assist. I've got 11 insight and 5 commands, so I can do that.
Oh yeah, you're set up for success here.
And that's just 1d20 for the assist.
Correct.
Yep.
All right, you pass, and that's what's needed. So, between Panek and Skull, you two begin to probably realize at about the same time that when would a Klingon ever scare off a opponent, especially using a Kirk tactic? I mean, it definitely strikes you as odd, and you might get the sense that she's omitting some very important details.
Lieutenant Locke, scan their damage again to make sure it was legitimately inflicted and not self-inflicted.
I'm going to scan again and also make sure that it matches what we know of Romulan disruptor fire.
Okay. I'm going to say this is going to be another scan. This time the difficulty will be a 3.
I'm going to burn one of their 3 momentum to get an extra dice.
Okay. Absolutely.
And Skull, you're going to still roll for the ship, I assume?
Yep, I can do that.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. Yeah, still sensors and science from the ship.
I can do silence too if you'd like. But there might be people on the stream that would prefer me to be silent, but
Oh, no, I think people love you. I think you're fine.
well, that makes 2 of them. Anyways, sensors.
So far he spent 1 momentum, but we actually just got it right back.
Correct.
Okay.
Focuses for the ship. I always forget those. Doesn't seem like I have any. Okay.
Oh, for the ship, it always has an applicable focus.
Oh, cool.
All right, so the ship doesn't help. But yeah, Locke. Sure enough, you're able to tell that the damage to the bird of prey was all internal. That it wasn't due to disruptor fire. In fact, the hull is rather pristine for a Klingon bird of prey, anyway. Yeah, all the damage came from within, not from without.
Is the Klingon still on the comms?
No, the view screen has cut off at the moment.
Captain, I don't believe they're telling the truth. I'm not detecting any signs of Romulan disruptor fire on the exterior hull, and it does seem like most of the explosions and damage seems to be internal.
Yes, their commander seemed all too willing to accept help. What's your take, Panek? Do you believe that this may be a trap?
If it is a trap, sir, they have yet to spring it, and they've passed, in my opinion, past the opportunity in which would be advantageous to do so, unless they were waiting for us to beam a crew over and then take them hostage. As I read it, they now stand disabled, and we are aware that they have not been forthcoming with relevant information. I suggest we hail them back and leverage assistance for the truth.
I'm in agreement.
Captain?
Yes.
I hesitated to mention this before, in the event of coloring judgment, but I did receive notification from a former colleague, who mentioned that the Klingons might have been involved, or at least standing by and watching silently with the implosion of the star and the Trilithium weaponry.
Well, that's interesting. Do we have... does our ship's library contain any information on the Husnageb and its possible captain?
It does not, unfortunately.
Oh, well, worth a shot. Very well. Hail them again, please.
We could also beam some of them directly onto onto our ship under the auspices of medical care, which would reduce their numbers.
They have flatly denied medical assistance. Doing so, taking them from their ship, would be stripping them of their honor, and that would, at this point, make a tense situation worse. Hail them again, please.
Opening hailing frequency.
All right. So yeah, Commander Og comes back on the view screen. She says, "Captain Skull, we are awaiting transport."
Commander Og, for someone who's just faced down a Romulan Diderdix bird of prey that is roughly 3 or 4 times their size, your ship does not seem to have suffered any external damage.
Well, we had fanciful flying. And even though that none of you maybe know the in-depth way of Klingons, she's obviously bullshitting.
All right. Come on, Commander Og. Lying suits Romulans, not Klingon. What's going on?
She turns to, as someone says something off-screen in Klingon, she turns and barks back at him. And she looks back at you and says, "Fine, I will tell you what happened. Actors of the House Marat attempted to take control of my ship. And though I was able to quash the rebellion and spaced the offending trash, the damage was done. they managed to cripple my vessel.
Klingon, inter-Klingon house politics. Well, congratulations for securing your proper command, Commander. I shall have our engineers beam over shortly so that you can make it back to your glorious house.
While they're talking, I'd like to scan for these Klingon bodies that she jettisoned just to corroborate her story.
I'll give it to you free. Yeah, there are a number of Klingon bodies in the vicinity that are just floating in space.
I'll just nod and signal to the captain that she's being truthful about that.
All right.
From my scans, can I tell what systems are damaged in the Romulan ship or the Klingon ship?
Yes. So the engines will need the primary manifold repaired. Life support will need a few EPS conduits realigned. And then if you wanted to go the extra mile, their weapon array, their disruptor cannons, could use a remodulation.
How are their sensors? Are their sensors currently operating? Or?
They are operating, but they're Klingons, so they don't have the best sensors in the world.
How far away are we from the nearest Klingon station or the nearest Klingon shipyard? They're essentially their side of the DMZ.
I would say if you were to go at Warp 5, it would be approximately a 3-day journey to the nearest Klingon outpost. But obviously, the Husnageb is not going anywhere at the moment.
Captain, I would recommend we only provide assistance with returning power to their essential systems.
Agreed.
We don't leave their weapon systems down.
Agreed. We don't need to waste more time than needed providing assistance above and beyond in this situation. Send some engineers with a small security escort, preferably security that has dealt with Klingons face to face and knows their customs.
Captain?
Yes, Locke.
If the Klingons are working with the Romulans, this might be an opportune time to access their computers and see if we can find any information of the Romulan weapon.
Yes, that would be a wise idea. Are you recommending going over as an engineer?
Sure. I guess I suppose I am the best qualified.
Very well. We'll make sure that there's a security person by you at all times, just in case.
Shall I accompany the away team, Captain?
I would, if you'd like, yes. I believe that a senior officer from the bridge would go a great way to ensure that our commander is not hiding anything else.
Very well. Lieutenant Locke, with me.
All right. So we'll say you beam over with, we'll say 3 engineers and 2 security personnel. And when you beam over, it is, to put it bluntly, it's a mess. But it's hard to tell with Klingons whether that mess is on purpose or if that's just the way things are. And actually, Commander Ag meets you in short time, and she says, good, you have arrived. If you will follow my assistant here. She nods at a Klingon to her left behind her. He will take you to the engineering section. And as for you, she looks at Panek and says, you are a first officer, if I know Federation or Starfleet bridge layout, correct?
Lieutenant Commander Panek, indeed you are affirmative. I am the first officer. It's odd that you would be aware of the layout of a Prometheus-class bridge, however.
Well, as you are the Starfleet's flagship in the area, you are required reading for everyone.
I see.
But come, I have a matter I wish to discuss with you, and that you may take back to your captain.
Very well. Crew, follow her assistance, and then I'll lock eyes with Lieutenant Locke, and I'll kind of just slightly signal him with my head to get on with his mission.
Okay. So before we do that conversation between Og and Panek, I did want to open the floor to roles. So obviously, if you want to repair their engines, it would be fairly simple enough for you to do. But if you wanted to do more, like if you wanted to say get them entirely shipshape, we would do an extended task. The other thing to note is that Locke would have to roll at least once to not have his work be detected. I think, and of course you can argue otherwise, I think the appropriate role here would maybe be a daring plus security. Of course, I would love to entertain other suggestions for tasks.
Well, I think Locke not being discovered is imperative, so you should use whatever momentum you need for that. And then for engineering, for the repairs, I say just the essentials. Engines, shields, deflectors, give their life support a once over, and then we can send them scurrying back for Klingon space.
Okay. So let's handle Locke's role first.
Just not being detected?
Yeah,
Oh.
just not being detected. I'm gonna make
Definitely
the,
gonna spend some on that.
I was gonna say I'm gonna make the difficulty here. I'm gonna make it a 2, since I'm reducing it by 1 since I figure your days in Starfleet intelligence, you probably know what you're doing.
Just avoiding detection, you mean? Alright, so daring security is not my strong suit. The espionage focus count.
It would.
Yes, spending 1 momentum to get that third dice.
Okay.
Do I want more? Fingers crossed. Oof.
Hey, you get a momentum back. Nice. So you stay at momentum 3. All right. So yeah, Locke, you're combing through their records, and though you find some internal Klingon communiques about the Grion system, the general gist of what you read is that they have increased patrols near the area, but that the Klingon High Command, or the equivalent thereof in this sector, has ordered that no vessel should enter the area unless specifically requested to by Starfleet.
That no Klingon vessel enter unless requested by Starfleet?
Correct.
That's a weird one.
That's very peculiar, given that we were not told that we could. Oh, very interesting.
I just thought it's weird that the Klingons were waiting on word from us to go in. I mean,
Well,
The Klingons might not be working with the Romulans, they might be working with us. It's slightly more reassuring, but
That's yay intrigue. So while Locke is doing that, Og takes Panek to her ready room, or the Klingon equivalent thereof, and she takes a seat, motions for Panek to do similar, and as long as Panek it doesn't really matter if he sits or stands, but Og will say, I am if I were a betting woman, and I generally am not, but in this situation, would it be fair for me to assume that you are heading towards the Grion system?
I do not bet. And we could possibly be heading in to investigate the stellar implosion that was observed. Or we could be merely a forerunning ship with a small contingent of ships behind us. Why?
Well, I am unaware if you have been told this, but my orders on the subject are that if any Starfleet vessel wishes to enter the Grion system, that the ship, the nearest ship, the nearest Klingon ship, is ordered to is asked. Words hard. The nearest Klingon ship is to ask if the Starfleet vessel would like an escort or assistance.
Why is the Klingon High Command basing your actions on the actions of what Starfleet is doing in the system? Why are you waiting on air permission to proceed instead of merely going in and investigating yourselves?
To put it bluntly, we do not have science vessels in the sector. And additionally, it is my understanding that Starfleet is the one in charge of the DMZ, not us.
But didn't the just out of character? Didn't the stellar explosion happen just inside this Impera sector?
No, it was closer to the Klingon side of the border.
Okay. I will have to discuss this with my captain, but I would be more amenable to us working together to solve this anomaly than to have to worry about the Klingons and what their possible moves could be. Having you closer would allow us to keep an eye and gauge your own reactions.
She thinks for a moment and says, "That is very Vulcan of you."
I'll just kind of give her the Vulcan equivalent of the no duh look.
All right. So with that information in hand, does Panek maybe like steal away somewhere and do a quick conversation with the captain? Does he wait till you beam back? What's the play here?
I'm gonna ask her for a moment to discuss this, and give her the pretense that I'm going to go check on my away team and their progress.
Okay.
And
Gosh.
I also want to meet up with Locke at that point to go over what he's discovered.
Okay. Yeah. You can certainly meet up and do that.
And then I'll just walk up to the console he's at and very nonchalantly, Lieutenant, report.
Commander? I'm happily repairing their computer systems for the engineering. The bit of damage there as well.
I have reason to believe that their damage coincides with information currently available to me from their commander. And then very quietly he'll say that the Klingons are waiting on air move before they move in.
I have received some. I did find some interesting data while repairing their computer. I passed in the tricorder, holding up the kind of a copy of the logs I found.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I will review this damage assessment.
Yes, this information right here seems particularly important, as I highlight their orders not to interfere unless requested.
And then I'll steal away to some area by the engineering team, but away from Klingon observers,
Mm-hmm.
and calm the captain.
Okay. Yeah.
Next to Ophion.
Ophion, Skull here.
Captain, Commander, what was her name?
Og. AG.
Commander Og has informed me that the Klingon High Command has made it imperative to not enter the system in question unless assistance is requested by the lead Starfleet ship, and the IKS Huskneb is requesting to escort us into the system once repairs are complete.
Well, that's peculiar. I wasn't aware that we were going to be a lead Starfleet ship. Or is there potentially other Starfleet assets already there?
As far as I am aware, we are the only one. We've been assigned to investigate this stellar implosion, and so that would make us the lead ship.
Very well. If the Klingons wish to repay their debt, we would need them more operational than they currently are. Does Prague have an estimated time for a more comprehensive repair to their weapon systems?
I will have to inform him of the development, but I could get you an estimate right away.
Appreciated. Having any Klingon there would give us a legitimacy, and would potentially show any Romulans watching that both parties have an interest in the system.
My thoughts exactly. Also, it would allow us to keep an eye on the Klingons during this development, and to be able to gauge their own reaction to whatever we find.
Agreed. See what time estimate Prague can give us and get back to me, Lieutenant Commander.
Will do. Pinnock out.
So you find Prague halfway, pretty much all the way up to his elbows in some bit of technology. And when you ask him how long with this new development, he just kind of snorts and says, "Well, if you want this thing to get up to our warp speed, I don't know, give me 5 hours."
We need to make sure her weapons are as functional as possible as well, Chief.
Ah, well, they're already functional. They're just not modulated properly.
Then assign someone to do it. I want, if we're going to go in there with an escort, I want a capable one.
All right, that'll increase our time to 7 hours, but we can do it.
Very well, I will inform the Ophion. Connect to Ophion.
Skull here.
The timetable has just moved up to 7 hours, Captain.
Well, that's not bad. Not bad. Get the work done and then get back here, and we'll proceed at best possible warp.
Very well, Captain. I will take our acknowledgement of the IKS Husnep's offer to the commander.
Yep. Tell her that, as at present, the lead starship, or the lead Starfleet vessel is accepting her offer to assist.
Very well, Captain. Pinnock out, and then I'll head to the commander's office.
Okay. Yeah, and she says, "Ah, good. What does your captain say?"
We will accept your offer of escort, Commander Og, but let me be quite clear to you. USS Ophion is the lead vessel in this investigation, and you will abide by that. You will not take any action unless requested to do so by us.
She looks almost like she wants to object to this, but she bites her tongue and says, "That is acceptable."
Indeed. Our timetable for your repairs have moved up. It will be 7 hours until you are operational. I will request to have additional engineering crew sent over to speed this up.
Well, that is good. Can I offer you a bottle of blood wine for your troubles?
Thank you. I do not imbibe alcohol, but I'm sure my captain will appreciate this.
Excellent. Well, here. She stands up, goes over to a trunk, opens it up, and you see that there's just a whole slew of bottles in there, haphazardly arranged, and she rummages through a few, looks at the label, puts a few back, and then picks one up, hands it over to you. It is a 2319.
2319.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he will enjoy this. Thank you. If that is all, I will return to my crew and assess their progress.
Of course, as you wish.
And I'll just calm over and let them know to send more engineers over.
Okay. So we can do this one of two ways. We can either just say the 7 hours just passes and then you guys can move on. Or if you wanted to speed up the process, we could actually do the extended task. It's up to you guys.
Cap?
Lieutenant, yeah, I have... I'd like to get there as fast as possible, but...
Since our engineer isn't here, and that would normally be his time to shine.
Yes, our engineer isn't here, so...
I think take the 7 hours then.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, if Murthrin was around, I could challenge him, but Murthrin isn't, so...
Alrighty. So we'll just say the 7 hours passes without incident. I don't suppose anyone had anything they wanted to do during that time. Maybe.
Could I, while repairing and fixing and putzing around, could I get access to a computer and maybe insert a small bit of malicious code into the Klingon computer? Some sort of worm that could cause problems if triggered, if necessary?
I would say if you wanted to do that, it would be another daring plus security roll, and this time the difficulty would be a 3.
Worth it. Okay, so while fixing and repairing, I consider that for a bit, and then decide that the risk outweighs the reward.
All right. So, unless anyone has anything else, in which case feel free to interrupt me. The Husnageb is fighting shape within 7 hours, and it joins the Ophion in formation. And as you go to warp, so does the Husnageb, and you guys continue on your way to the Grion system. Unless anyone has anything else, we can just skip ahead to the Grion system.
Works for me.
All right. So, the Ophion, a few days later, drops out of warp on the edge of the Grion system. And they do so right into a planetary debris field. And Sona frantically works the con to keep the ship from ramming into something. But she's good at her job. So you don't suffer, say, rocks bouncing off the hull or slamming into a big chunk of rock. I will roll for the Husnageb, though, simply because it could affect them, because they don't have as great as a pilot. Oh, yes. So, the Husnageb is definitely not having a good time. I would say you maybe watched on the view screen as a big chunk of rock slams into their port side wing and sends the Husnageb into a tailspin. They spin for a good couple minutes until their con officer, their helm officer, is able to get the ship under control again. But even without them reporting as such, you all can tell that they're probably going to have reduced impulse speed because of this.
Well, considering that we're nearly in system anyways, I think impulse speed is the best speed.
Oh, we just fixed it.
I know, right?
That's what happens when I roll a 20.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Klingons.
Yeah. Anyways, so the Grion system is a mess. There is a singularity where the sun used to be, and all 3 of the planets, much like the background here, they've all been cracked open like eggs. Luckily, said planets don't seem to have been habitable, so it's highly unlikely that any life forms died as a result of the implosion. Still, the sheer power and aftermath of what probably was the Trilithium weapon, it's staggering. It is indeed a testament to how dangerous this chemical is.
Based on the damage and the star class, can we determine an effective radius of this weapon?
When you say radius, do you mean
Like in AU, like how far away, if you imploded a star of a particular class, how far out would it be as devastating?
It depends on the type of star. Obviously, the smaller the star, the smaller the implosion. But in general, a implosion from Trilithium is enough to usually wipe out most of a system. Like something, so if our sun, Sol, imploded, it would probably destroy all the way out to Neptune.
Would this be a cumulative effect if used on like a binary or trinary system?
I hadn't considered that. I'd say you could, if you detonated like one star in a binary system, It would obviously cause a lot of damage, but I don't quite know if the other star would be adversely affected. I imagine it would in some way. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't really have an answer for it, unfortunately.
All right. Let's begin scanning the system. First of all, let's see if anyone's been here recently. Can we scan for ion trails or other signs of potentially cloaked Romulan vessels?
Certainly
It'll
can.
be hard with all the interference after the explosion, but I'll do my best.
Well, anything before the explosion is most likely has most likely been washed out. I'm more interested in the recent traffic, which, given all the interference and debris lying around, should leave pretty decent trails.
And if this was indeed a testing ground for this Romulan, they would no doubt send someone in to collect readings.
Agreed. And scan for gravitational distortions that might indicate a cloaked watch station or other potentially damaged Romulan ships.
Interesting.
Yep.
All right, so the way we're going to handle this, because you can't weasel out of all the extended tasks.
You are no fun.
Yeah. So the work track here is going to be 12. The magnitude will be 3. And the base difficulty will also be a 3. The default task, you can probably guess, is going to be a reason plus science. And the good news is the ship will, again, assist with sensors plus science.
And I just swapped out the talent that let me make this stuff easier, too, because we hadn't used it to date. Curse you, GM. Okay.
So how do these extended tasks work exactly?
All right, so the way extended task works is you roll in this instance. I'm assuming Locke would be the forerunner here. So Locke would roll a reason plus science, and the ship would assist. And if he passes the difficulty 3 task, he then does an amount of work equal to 2 challenge die plus his science score. And whatever you roll in that challenge die is how much work you do. And the magic number here is 5 or more. If you do 5 or more, you achieve what is called a breakthrough. And that reduces the difficulty of future tasks and counts towards your magnitude. So the magnitude here is a 3. So you need either 3 breakthroughs or you need to complete the work track and then, get 3 work after that kind of a thing. Basically, it's a way to do to represent you scanning for a bunch of things over an extended period of time.
Is there any way for us to assist him?
If the ship wasn't assisting, I would normally say yes. But since the ship is assisting, I'm going to say... I feel like there might actually be a command talent for this. Let me look real fast.
Discipline. I've got an advisor whenever you assist another character after using your command discipline, though.
Yeah, let me look it up.
All I have is cautious command. That's not going to work here.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna say unfortunately no. You can't exactly do like 40k Rogue Trader where you point at someone and say do better, and they do. I'm gonna say it's gonna come down to Locke here and his rolls.
Then I'll busy myself with communicating with the Commander Og and getting reports on their damage and their repair assessments.
Okay. So Locke, if you'd like to make your first roll, again, remind me.
This is a new scene with the momentum cooldown.
Yes, this would be a new scene. Thank you. I'm trying to be better about scene changes.
So we have 2 momentum, and I'm probably going to burn 1 right now.
Okay.
Not really good focus right now.
All right. Well, you okay? So you get that momentum back, and go ahead now and roll. I believe it's a total of 7 challenge die. Yeah, 2 plus 5, it would be 7. Wow. So
Nice.
not only do you, let me count that 1, 2, 3, 4. Not only do you fill up half the work track with your first bit of scanning, But you also achieve a breakthrough, which means future tasks are only difficulty 2. And I will begin to feed you information as a result. So the first thing that you find from your sensor scans is that the singularity, where the sun used to be, is highly unstable. It'll likely tear apart itself within the next several weeks, and when that happens, the planets, or whatever's left of them anyways, will be flung out into dark space. And as far as you're able to tell, there are no warp trails, besides one coming from Klingon space. It appears to be belonging to a Burrell-class bird of prey, not the Husnageb, but a different one. And that would fit with the data that was presented during the briefing with the captain. There is no sign of said scout vessel, though. So that's what you get for the first roll. Let's see how well you do for the next one.
Not gonna spend any momentum this time, so I'm gonna keep it.
All right. Does the ship give you momentum? Let's find out.
Let's find out.
Nope. You just get a success. So yeah, another 7 challenge die, please. I'm going to say you just complete it with that. Yeah, you blow this thing out of the water. So it's hard for you to pick out this bit of information between all the debris and the aftermath of the implosion and the size of the object in question. But there appears to be what could be best described as blank or dud torpedo casings orbiting the singularity. And they are in a decaying orbit, but they have not crossed the event horizon yet. They will do so within the hour, so if you want to beam any aboard, you got to do it relatively quickly.
Well, yeah. Energize.
Okay. So you beam it to engineering, because engineering would probably be the best case to look at this. And after a few minutes, Prag calls up to the bridge and says, sir, you're not going to like what we found here.
What have you found?
These are Starfleet casings.
What? Locke, Panek, with me.
All right.
I can.
I'm assuming you're going to engineering.
That's correct.
All right. I put you on this map. Tokens that I got to get rid of. Mirthrin is not there. Padilla is not there. Skull is there. Locke is there. And there's Panek. Panek is there. All right. So, you walk into engineering and you see Zenixia and Prague have basically as stated, a Starfleet torpedo casing open, and they are examining the contents.
Craig, what you got?
Well, I mean, you can see it for yourself, sir. This is Starfleet design and composition.
Are you able to determine where the torpedo casing came from?
We aren't able to get a trajectory, but I can tell you that the casing was subjected to extreme stress that would be consistent with having either been fired at warp speed or accelerated very quickly to warp speed, like a rail gun, as it were.
Any signs of trilithium in the torpedoes?
None in these, no.
Are there any identifying markers or serial codes attached to the casing that would allow us to trace it back to its manufacturing?
No, those have been filed off, unfortunately. I mean, if I could make a guess, I'd say that really any such torpedo casing would probably have come from a ship visiting DS9, but even that is just speculation.
All right, then let's speculate.
Well, the obvious inference is that either the Romulans have acquired Starfleet material, or an unknown Starfleet entity is involved.
Neither of those are very good. Nothing good can come from either of those deductions.
Hmm.
Okay. So let's see. Let's see if we can't figure out where these torpedoes came from. Even passing through warp, if they pass through any nebulizer or near any other stellar phenomenon, they should have picked up some particles that might be unique or indicate at least partial trajectory. Let's do a full examination under an electron scanners and see what we can find out from that.
Chief Bragg, I'd also like you to look for any methods of tracking any future torpedoes that have been modified this way. If the Trilithium warhead emits a particular signature.
I mean, as far as I'm able to tell, it would. And he starts to think about how to say this, and Zenixia will chime in and say what Prag doesn't want to say. And she says, unfortunately, I don't think there is a way to detect a trilithium torpedo apart from another one until it is fired.
But the material used in Starfleet torpedo casing, it would stand out from if aboard a Romulan vessel, would it not?
It would indeed, yes.
Right. And then I'll kind of take the captain aside for a second and say, Captain, if we are to take our second inference that a Starfleet entity is involved seriously, then we have to be very careful about how we inform Starfleet Command of this development. We could be possibly tipping our hand to someone we don't want to.
Agreed. I'm of the opinion. Now, if a Starfleet entity was performing illicit experiments in this sector of space, they would have had to have come through Deep Space Nine. And in which case, we might need a neutral party with ears to the ground and a habit of poking his nose where it doesn't belong. Walk with me, Commander. We're going to sickbay.
I can.
All right, we go to sickbay. Man, I really need to cut down on these maps. There's a lot of maps.
I appreciate them, but then
I need to organize them better. Anyway, Beckett, you are doing Beckett things as both Skull and Panek walk into your sickbay.
Captain, XO,
Doctor.
I take it you're not here for a social call again.
Agreed. Ensign Varus, you're dismissed.
Of course, sir. And she makes a hasty retreat.
Computer seal sickbay doors.
All right, they lock and seal.
Okay, so, Doctor, I am very concerned with the. I'm very concerned that the aspect of Starfleet that I'm trying to distance myself from is at work in this system, and I'll just relay what we found on the torpedo casings.
I'm sure you're aware of the age-old rite called "I told you so."
Yes, the four words that every commander wishes that they could tell their captain at least once in their career.
Correct.
So, I am interested in perhaps working through a neutral party on Deep Space Nine where this stuff probably passed through at some point that might have, how shall we say, gained information that they're not supposed to get.
As Skull's talking, Beckett grabs a pad, still looking at Skull, listening, and starts typing on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Captain.
And perhaps I'm aware of dealings between you and such an individual. I'm wondering if he could be persuaded to pass any information on to us. Sadly, you may have to see a short decline in profits for a business quarter or two, but if it means rooting out this shadow organization, that would be for the best, I believe.
With a smile, Beckett pushes the button that everybody knows is the send button on a pad, sets it down on his desk, and says, "Well, Captain, I just sent a message to a Ferengi friend of mine and told him that I had a new batch that he could pick up from me for a substantial discount, as long as I could have his ear for a few minutes."
So you maybe have to wait all of 3 minutes before Sickbay gets a directed communique from the bridge.
Before he answers it, Pinnock would like to impress upon Commander Beckett that such an entrepreneurial entity is just as likely to spread any available information he gains from us around, and to limit exactly what the amount of information we trade to him. Essentially, we want him to know we're looking for where someone possibly gained a couple of Starfleet torpedo casings, but we don't want him to really know what we're investigating.
Okay, I can make that happen. I'll answer the communique. This is Commander Beckett.
So on screen, it's your lovable friend Quark, and he says, Mr. Beckett, glad I caught you. You're interested in knowing who might have gotten their hands on some... Skull and Pinnock are off screen. You're interested in knowing who might have gotten their hands on some casings, yeah?
You know, for as big as your lobes are, I'd almost say that you had some psychic ability there, sir.
Hell, I wouldn't be a very good Ferengi if I wasn't able to anticipate what someone might want. But let's cut to the chase here. I happen to know that, I happen to know because I set up the deal myself. There were a pair of Nausicaans here about a couple weeks ago. They worked through a third party who remains anonymous, even to me. And they may have purchased a few old spent torpedo casings.
About how long ago was this business deal made?
Couple weeks. I try not to remember the exact start date, but 2-3 weeks.
Well, we both know you remember everything about everything. But, I think that's a fair enough assessment, and I'll hit the mute button. And then, kind of sneakily, without really moving my mouth much, say, "Is there anything else we want to know?"
The personal frequency of the Andorian Dabo dancer would be nice, but that's mixing personal and business affairs.
I'll wait a second to see if anything else comes. Oh, no?
Nope, nothing from the captain. Pinnock?
No, Captain.
Actually, where were those Nausicaans heading?
I was just going to ask him the same question, too. I'll unmute it. 2 more bits of information that I need. Do you happen to know where those Nausicaans were headed?
Between you and me, I didn't really ask, but some sources say they might have headed towards Romulan space.
Do you happen to know what ship they were aboard?
They were on basically a glorified tugboat. But yeah, I could get you the registry information of their ship.
Excellent. We will we'll talk about this discount that I spoke of. Oh, and one last thing. Um, can you put me in touch with that Andorian Dabo girl that you happen to have working for you?
Selena?
Sure.
Well, personally, I pegged you for a Gorn type man, but hey, Andorians are your thing, sure.
Oh, it's not for me.
Of course it isn't. He winks, and after a few moments, a frequency is transmitted via text.
Excellent. As I said, you and I will talk about this discount, and I will make sure that my new batch of drink makes its way to you.
Excellent. Well, I should go before a certain captain starts breathing down my neck.
Of course, we never spoke as usual, correct?
I don't even know your name. And then the screen goes blank.
I hit a couple buttons on my computer, send the information about the Dabo girl to a pad, as well as the information for the Nausicaans and all of that, and I will just hand the pad to the captain with a wink and a smile and say, I believe everything you would like to know is in there.
So, Captain, the Romulans ship in a quantity of Trilithium into the DMZ. They purchase stolen Starfleet torpedo casings from Nausicaans. What do they have to gain from framing Starfleet in such a way?
I wonder if they're trying to destabilize the relationships between Starfleet and the Klingons?
But it's such a roundabout method. The Starfleet does not go around imploding suns. This is completely out of character for us.
No, one would say it's illogical.
Or they could just be trying to set up the fact that maybe we are having someone else do it.
Also a possibility.
But both sides are aware that the Romulans shipped the Trilithium in. The Klingons and Starfleet.
True. But what if these weapons are going to be used against another organization that's not one of the three that knows what's going on?
You're suggesting a false flag operation.
Or a red herring? Yes.
Yeah. Which, pardon me while I pull up the map and figure out what enemy empires happen to be in this neck of the woods.
Cardassians?
The Brain Confederacy is awfully close.
As are the Cardassians.
The Ferengi? The Dominion?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if the Romulans restart the Dominion War with the Federation?
Why would the Romulans want to restart? They fought against the Dominion and suffered badly.
Who knows? Maybe deciding to pick a new side?
Or perhaps they're looking to take more of the Cardassian territory.
True. Get our interests going a different direction?
Mm-hmm.
True. Aren't the Tholians somewhere nearby as well?
Yeah, we came dangerously close to their space during the Sabine Expanse, but they're still a good 3 or 4 weeks away at high warp. I think the Romulan interest would be more close to home.
The proximity in which they tested this weapon indicates a closer secondary strike, in my opinion. Also, we have to remember that the use of trilithium-laced warheads to implode a star originated with the Dominion itself.
Well, we could always ask the Romulans directly.
I believe Starfleet has already made such overtures. Or at least if I was in their position, I would definitely be seeking those dialogues.
I mean,
Yeah.
Captain, how would that communique go? So we hear you're making these star-killing weapons, but you're putting them in our torpedo tubes. What's up with that?
I mean, yeah, why not? The best way to deal with a bluff is to call someone on it.
In any
And
case,
admittedly, that's why I don't play poker.
In any case, Captain, I believe our next step would be to locate these Gnosticans and make another connection in this chain of events. Find out who they are exactly they've supplied with their air torpedo casings.
Agreed. Problem with Nausicaan trade pirates are they don't want to be found though. But we do know they go to Deep Space Nine on occasion.
And we know what kind of ship they're in, and we know how to find it. It's just a matter of going hunting.
Agreed. Although thankfully we'd have two governments at our disposal, so yes. Let's
Captain,
yes.
it would seem that these Gnosticans have a mercantile streak in them, and that they procure items for people when necessary. We could potentially set a bait trap for them. Put out a call for something. It's very specific for this Gnostican crew to acquire through intermediary channels, and then catch them.
An interesting proposition. What would we have that would be a good bait trap?
So almost on cue, before you can really start to think about it, the ship goes to red alert, and there's an immediate call on the comms from Lieutenant Shatsu, and it says, "Please, Captain and Lieutenant Commander Panek, please to the words hard. Captain and Panek, please get to the bridge immediately. There's a visitor outside."
I swear to God, if it's Q again, and I just
march to the bridge and slam my comm badge and ask for a status report.
A Romulan ship has decloaked, sir.
What is the status of the IKS, whatever it was?
Husnageb.
Husnageb. Are they keeping station?
They are currently effecting repairs.
All right, move us into a defensive position in front of them, but don't make anything overt to the Romulans.
Okay. So I'll put you back on this map where you should now see the offending Romulan on screen. Give you a little bit of context here before we go to break. So when you both arrive back on the bridge, and Locke, I assume you would have been called up as well. All of you see that the Romulan vessel is a unknown configuration. At least as far as I was able to tell in my research. But it does bear markings of the Romulan Star Empire. It's a large fixed-wing vessel with a wingspan of roughly 900 meters, a large section that extends forward to create a downsloped headspace, and it has a dark green hull with distinctive feather-shaped plating. And Shatsu reports that their weapons are currently active, and they're locked onto the Ophion. And just as the captain sits down, Panek, you would see on your panel that a hail is coming in from the Romulans.
Captain, receiving hail from the Romulans.
so nice of them to talk before they shoot. On screen.
So you see the view screen activates and shows the interior of what looks to be a brand new layout of a Romulan bridge. And sitting center chair is a Romulan woman in typical military garb. And she says, "I am Commander Mevka of the IRW Intra Kahu. You will state your business here and explain why there are Starfleet torpedoes floating in space." And that's where we're going to take our break. So yeah, 5 to 10 minutes, guys. And we will pick up right there.
All right.
All right, BRB. All right, I am back. And yep, Locke has found the very image I used to make this cutout. Yeah, add a character lock. I made sure that the ship in particular was at least in alpha canon for this little bit, but I was able to tell that the this particular ship type is something that would be out around this time. Yes, Sterling. Is the design is from Nemesis, as far as I was able to tell. So yep, that would be with the shins on.
I'm back, just butzing.
Welcome back. I think it's just you and me at the moment, though I could be wrong.
Yeah, but big sheet of like one of those size comparison things for Starfleet, like starships.
Yeah.
Had that up a little while back, so just like, are they? What Romulan ships are on there? And there's one that looks about the right size.
Yep.
3 seconds on Google.
It's
I'm back.
Oh, welcome back, Captain. I specifically went for a ship that I thought would be interesting to bring up at this current juncture in time, but I didn't go full Star Trek Online and pull out some weird design. Not yet, anyway.
The Romulan and Klingons are good, and all their other species, but man, some of their later Federation ones are just like shotgun of design stuff. Yeah, I mean, thinking ahead about for anyone who's listening to this, I do ships and species on the Continuing Mission fan site. So I've been thinking about doing Star Trek Online ones and finding good designs that don't look like someone threw up on the screen. It's been tricky. Some terrible, terrible ships in Star Trek Online.
Yes, hello, chat. How are you doing? We actually have quite a few people listening today, which is nice.
I'm curious how many of us are actually listening.
I was going to say, I think some of that is mostly you guys watching chat, but, you know.
Oh, probably.
Hey,
Hi, chat.
I'll take even 1 or 2 viewers.
It's amusing that Nausicaans are mentioned. Next Friday is the Nausicaan week on continuing mission. I'm doing them as a species. And that Sunday, so not this coming Sunday tomorrow, but the week after that is actually the Prometheus class.
Excellent. I'm very eager to see how yours differs from mine.
Very heavily, actually.
Okay.
I'm actually going up a scale.
Really?
I waffled so much on that because it's right in the middle of a 4 or 5. I decided to go up big.
Yeah, I went with the fact that everything I could find said it was closer to Voyager size than a Galaxy class, so I was like, yeah, we'll just make it scale 5 or scale 4.
Yeah, it's halfway between Voyager and the Excelsior class in size, and Excelsior is at scale 5, and so it's a little closer to Excelsior. But the tipping factor was talents, because designing it, there's so many talents it has. It's got like a blade of armor, it's got the AMH, it's got the multi-vector assault. It's meant to be fast, so it's enhanced warp. And there's so many talents you throw on, and so if it was scale 4, it'd be no flexibility for picking your own talent.
Well, I mean, I'll take a look at what you got, and I'll make a judgment call whether to tweak it a little bit. I'm certainly not adverse to doing so.
And if you don't like it, hey, you have your options now.
Yeah, I've got options. All right, I think I saw Panek chirp a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, Beckett, are you back yet?
I was thinking while away. Prague did just full-on complete scans of these casings, right?
Right.
Did he find any indication of like Romulan DNA?
I would say Prague wouldn't have been one to look for that sort of thing, but someone else might have, and you can probably guess who that someone is.
How much of the casings actually survived the Nova, as it were?
It's all kind of a mystery that's going on. Ooh, excellent. I'll take a look at that after the game.
Sharing the Prometheus.
Oh, I heard Beckett's mic, so let me get rid of the big BRB, and we can get back to what we're doing. So yeah, Commander Mevka of the IRW Intraku, I think is how we're going to say it. You know, it's one of those things where I write the names down and they sound good on paper, but then you say them out loud. Yeah. Anyways, you have been asked to state your business and explain why there are Starfleet torpedo casings floating in space.
Commander Mavka, I am Captain Barton Scald of the USS Ophion. We are investigating the sudden implosion of the Grion star, and admittedly, these torpedo casings are as surprising to us as they are of you. We have beamed a couple aboard for our own investigations. I'm sure that you will probably do the same with the remaining torpedo tubes. We are looking to find a group of Nausicaans that we believe might have been trafficking these torpedoes. And they were last seen heading into Romulan space. Perhaps your military intelligence can provide us or can assist in tracking down these potential terrorists.
You know, Captain, I think it much more likely that Starfleet has decided to test a new weapon and that you're here to collect data, as it were.
Commander, you've scanned my ship much like I've scanned yours. Admittedly, your ship is of a new design to us, and you have seen our ship. Your military has most likely seen our ship on one or two occasions. You know that this particular ship is more of a it was built more for the Dominion War, and as such does not contain the specific science facilities needed to properly investigate a test of this magnitude.
So you do admit the possibility that the Federation might be involved in some capacity.
There are torpedo tubes around the sun, or what's left of the sun. I admit that is the only piece of data that we have.
Okay. And sidebar here, Locke, you do indeed scan, and you do not find any DNA, which is odd. Whoever modified these torpedoes, they made damn sure not to leave a single trace behind.
How much Federation technology, like guidance systems and stuff like that, are in the torpedoes?
I would say the guidance systems are still there, as are whatever functions as propulsion, so like tweaking the trajectory. But the actual warhead compartment, where, you know, the detonation device and the payload, that's gone.
I'd like to pull up a tricorder and download its flight logs into that.
Okay.
And see if I can get telemetry.
All right. I'll give it to you free. You are able to determine that the trajectory begins on the Romulan border of the DMZ, and it essentially traveled, if I remember my distances correctly, somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 light years before impacting the Grion sun.
Let's see. So while they're doing that, I am still staring down the commander.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm still asking for hope and cooperation, whereas she is probably not having any of it.
Yeah, I would say even without needing to insight her, you know full well that she, just based on her tone, she's fully expecting you all to put it bluntly, make a scene.
While he's talking with her, I'm going to take the trajectory that Lieutenant Locke has found and split screen it on the screen, but only so that the captain can see. I'm not transmitting it to them.
Okay.
Just so that he's aware of this information.
Okay. My sincere apologies, Commander. I will be right back, and I signal to mute the connection.
Okay.
Are the area of the DMZ, is that anywhere close to where the Nausicaans may have gone?
In a roundabout way, I'll draw very hastily on this map. And so you guys are here at this red circle. Romulan space is up here. Then you have Cardassian space here. And the Nausicaans went that way into Romulan space.
Captain, the trajectory that Lieutenant Locke was able to recover from the guidance system show that it came 5 light years out from the Romulan border, towards the sun, the Greneb sun.
Very well. Thanks.
If the Romulans want to verify this information for themselves, there are other torpedo casings that they could take aboard themselves with haste.
Yes. Very well. Unmute the connection.
Okay.
Commander, sorry to keep you waiting. I've just been informed where this torpedo was launched from. You are, and in the nature of full cooperation, I am heading there. I and the Kling. Ooh, good question. Are the Klingons able? Crap. I'm already live. The Klingons and I are planning to head to that location to see if we can't scan for more information from where the torpedo was launched. You're more than welcome to come along, or you can pick up one of the leftover torpedo casings and come to the same conclusion yourself.
You are suggesting that we work together to gather this data.
Precisely.
And how do I know that you or your Klingon friends have not already tampered with these probes or these casings?
If we had wanted you to find, or if the Federation had intended for the Romulans to implicate Starfleet in any way, shape, or form, do you really think that Starfleet would use Federation torpedoes?
We did just finish a war with the Dominion, Captain. I would not put it past Starfleet to do anything at this juncture.
Which is why I'm extending you the hand of friendship instead of a pointed phaser.
Out of curiosity, are your shields up at the moment?
Our shields are up. I guess Red Alert was summoned, which automatically powers the weapons, but I don't think we've actively targeted the Romulans.
Okay, just making sure. I'd like you, and again, you can argue otherwise, but I think this is a perfect opportunity to use a rarer kind of task, and I'd like you to roll me a presence plus command here.
Okay.
And the difficulty here is going to be a 3.
Okay. Are there presence plus command? Okay. I'm going to spend momentum for an extra die.
Okay. I think that means you guys are down to 1 momentum.
Let's see, presence. And does diplomacy count for this?
Yes, it would.
D.
Hey, you got everything you needed. Nice.
Yay. And just because I bought momentum, I'm going to re-roll that one failure just to see if it actually comes up as a success.
Okay.
Because I have cautious command. And focus.
Hey, would you
Ooh.
look at that? Yeah, you get 2 momentum for your troubles. Nice. So yeah, Commander Mevka weighs the value of your words, and it's a very subtle change in the way she's seated in her chair, but you see that she is backing down from a fight. She is, again, very imperceptibly, but to you or Panacker, someone on the bridge would be able to tell at the very least, she has decided not to escalate things. And she says, "We will travel with you to this location, and if it turns out that your words are true, then perhaps we can determine who is responsible for this. However, if we find that the Starfleet is indeed the culprits here, well, I don't think I need to say what will happen."
Well, for whatever... if Starfleet is responsible Then I will be as pissed off as you are, Commander. We'll see you there. End transmission.
All right, so yeah, view screen cuts off.
Hail Commander Egg, please.
Okay. You hail Ag, and she looks a little bit flustered. And she says, "Ah, Captain Skull. Should we prepare for a fight with the Romulans?"
Thankfully, no. We are heading to our scans have indicated the source of the torpedoes that were fired at the sun. So we are heading there to investigate further. Is your ship warp capable?
It is, yes.
Wonderful. Then, once again, I request your assistance to join us, just to make sure that these Romulans don't get any other ideas.
Oh, do not worry, Captain. If the Ptah have no honor and attempt to surprise attack, we will deliver the swift hand of Klingon justice.
Don't shoot them until they shoot first. Those are my rules of engagement.
Again, she looks like she wants to say something, but since you are the lead vessel, she says, "Understood, Captain."
And I'll just kill transmission.
Okay.
Hey, Mr. Panek,
Captain.
what do you call a Starfleet officer, a Klingon officer, and a Romulan officer all working together to find out a cause of a rather potentially dangerous situation?
I would call that the current situation we were in, Captain. Are you trying to assess this current situation?
No, Mr. Panek, I was going to use the punchline improbable, but that works too. Miss Sona, please plot a course and make best speed so that both the Klingons and the Romulans are able to match it.
Understood, sir.
Take us to a safe spot out of the system and engage warp when ready.
All right. So, the Intraku is able to get coordinates and trajectory, or not trajectory, a heading from the Ophion in some capacity, and it falls in line behind the ship. So I'll put you on this map so you can kind of get an idea of where they are in relation to you. But that's kind of your quote-unquote marching order as you warp to the coordinates. The best possible speed will get you there at after about an hour's worth of travel. So my question then becomes, is anyone going to do anything during that hour?
I'm very interested to learn as much as I can about this new Romulan. So obviously take as many good scans as possible. They're obviously doing the same to us.
Okay. I'll give this to you free. You're able to tell that the ship, whatever class it might be, it's equipped with some rather powerful disruptor banks and rapid-fire plasma torpedo launchers. You're getting a life sign reading of about 900 individuals. And how would I say this? If you'd like to roll an Insight plus Con, I might be able to give you some more information.
Well, considering my con is 1, this will be. Let's see.
Really, this is open to everyone on the bridge. So conceivably, Sona could do the roll, and then you could assist her.
Yeah, I'm assuming her con is much better than ours.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, feel free.
All right. So whoever would like to roll for Sona.
I've done the ship. Someone else.
Okay.
So what was the roll again?
Insight plus Con, I believe, is what you use to discern a ship's bearing or a ship's purpose. At least if I remember the blurb about it correctly.
1d20 or 2?
If you're assisting, it's just going to... Or are you rolling for Sona?
Yeah.
She's going to be the main one doing this task, so it would be 2d20, unless you wanted to spend some momentum. The difficulty would be a 3, so you might want to spend the momentum.
Okay, so I'm going to spend their momentum. And astronavigation as a focus?
I would say no. This is more a... Let me look at her sheet, though. Maybe she does have
Oh.
optical focus.
Yeah, it's astronavigation is the best one, or helm or small craft.
I'm going to say no. She doesn't have any focuses that would apply here. Okay. So Sona did succeed, so whoever would like to assist her can roll. It is possible for you to succeed here.
Sorry, insight plus con.
Insight plus con, and you, as assisting, can spend another momentum to get an extra die.
I know.
Actually, I looked that up or asked, and you cannot spend momentum.
You can't? Okay.
No.
Only everyone die.
Well, maybe you'll crit. Oh, no, that's another 20.
I critted, just the wrong direction.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, this is going to end well.
You have no idea where they're going. They're going right to Earth.
How do I want to say this? They are... So you're not able, obviously, to determine the purpose of the vessel, but obviously you're guessing that it's a, like, Sovereign class or a Klingon Negvar class response by the Romulans. But aside from that, you're not able to determine how new the ship is, like if it's fresh off of a shipyard. You're not able to determine its maximum warp speed. You only have a guesstimate of how much firepower they have. And the engines are of such a new design, for Romulans anyway, that you're at a loss as to what its top speed could even be. So, yeah, a lot of unknowns.
Love it. Let's keep going.
Okay. So, anything else anyone wants to do during that hour?
Just maintaining a forward scan of where we're heading for any ships, or intermediarily scanning with tachyon sweeps for cloaked ships.
Okay.
Yeah, what do we know about the area that we're heading in?
It's a fairly void part of space. Obviously, it's not like a subspace node where there's nothing. There, just aren't any planets or systems nearby. Space between the stars, as it were.
There would be nothing there to provide gravitational interference for a launched probe, I would assume.
Correct.
Yeah, perfect place to fly in, launch something, and then fly out in any given direction. According to Intel, when did the sun collapse? How long ago? It's been about a week now, so...
Let
Before
me quickly double check my own star dates before I tell you. Stardate 54990 is when the star imploded.
Okay, so that's probably almost 3 weeks-ish?
I'd say closer to 2 weeks than 3.
2 weeks. Okay.
Star dates,
Good to
how do
know.
they work?
Magic.
Anyways, you were saying.
Anyways, 2 weeks, that's not going to make it easy to find a warp trail. And I'm guessing we're not going to find a spent shell casing out here. But... no, I'm just spitballing ideas in my head. Carry on.
Okay.
With this hour, I typed it in chat, but I am going to get the medical division ramped up in case of a fight.
Okay. Fair precaution.
Considering the empty bit of space that this was launched in, I think an ion trail or a warp trail signature would take longer to disperse than it would in a normal planetary system with stuff interfering and solar wind irradiation.
Well, that is a good point. Well,
Yes.
we'll get there
Maybe
soon.
remnants of something.
That's the hope. Otherwise, it's going to be a fight. And I don't want to fight Romulans. Well, I mean, as a player, I kind of do, but because we haven't done ship-to-ship combat. But as a character, I'd rather not. Anyways.
Anyways. All right. So fast forwarding a little bit, you arrive in the system and you all drop out of warp. And if you'd like to start making some scans, Locke, you certainly can. I would say the difficulty here is going to be a 3 for reasons I will disclose on the completion of the roll.
Whether Locke likes it or not, I'm going to order him to scan.
I'm going to spend 1 momentum to get that third die.
Okay, so you're down to 1 momentum.
Probably wouldn't have my focus.
I'll roll for the Ophion.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Oh, hello,
Actually,
Complication. How you doing?
I can re-roll that because I bought momentum. That is such a useful...
Hey, the ship assisted too.
All right.
All right, so you guys, you get a momentum back. So you're at 2. So, Locke, as you start scanning the system, you're going to know 2 things. First, is you are detecting ion trails. They seem to all lead back towards Romulan space. However, you are detecting some interference from the Entraku. Almost like they're attempting to jam or otherwise hamper your scanning of the system. And it's on such a wavelength or in such a manner that it is an unknown type of jamming that they're attempting to do. And it's simply just due to your skill and perhaps the Ophion's newly buffed sensors that you're able to cut through the interference.
Captain, I believe we're being interfered with in that.
Let me guess. Is it our friends in green out there?
Very much so, yes. They are definitely trying to make it harder for us to pick up these ion trails. Do any of the ion trails match their ion trail, actually?
No, they don't, but you do detect one ion trail in particular, which would seem to be of a vessel of a similar design.
I am detecting a vessel of the same class and probably origin. It seems to have passed by here.
Fascinating. Any idea and any inclination on how many ion trails?
There are, as I count, there are 3.
Okay.
One of which
And-
probably came from our torpedo.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2 ion trails heading back to Romulan space, 1 ion trail heading towards the sun.
Correct.
All right. The ion trails that heading back to Romulan space, are they similarly decayed? Are they the same age?
One is more recent than the other. It is the oldest is about the same timeline as when the Grion star, imploded,
Mhm.
and the other one is about a week after that.
And
Interesting.
the first one matches the torpedo.
Correct.
Well, I think we have pretty solid evidence, Captain. That
It would appear to be time to confront the Romulans.
does the ion trail we have here match the telemetry from the torpedo itself?
It does, yes.
So wait, hang on. There's only 1 ion trail from the torpedo, but there were several different torpedo casings in the sector.
Correct.
So were multiple torpedoes then launched from different locations?
We don't know that. We only brought aboard the one torpedo.
We did. Fascinating.
And we cannot prove that this particular torpedo caused the explosion, per se.
No. So there were multiple torpedoes fired, one of which probably contained the payload.
And the rest were duds.
How many casings were at the Singularity?
There were a grand total of 6.
We found, didn't we discover that they had enough trilithium to make 3 warheads?
That would be correct, yes.
It only takes one. They would have fired. They might have fired duds. And that also gives them a. Well, I imagine the torpedo that actually caused the explosion was most certainly incinerated and destroyed by the sun.
And the other casings could have been planted there specifically to find.
They fired evidence at the scene of the crime. Well, we can prove that they've been trying to frame us, but we cannot prove that they did it or that we did not.
Agreed. Mishatsu, please hail the Romulans, and let's bring the Klingons in on this too. Let's have a three-way, shall we?
Phrasing.
Phrasing.
It's the 24th century now.
Hey man, have you been to Ryza? This thing still exists.
Hey, Trill Society encourages that hosts with symbiotes just, have a lot of fun, just to give their symbiotes as much experience as possible.
Captain, quit digging.
As your chief medical officer, I must recommend you stop digging your hole deeper. Anyway, Shatsu does make the three-way call, and you see Commander Og on the left, you see Commander Mevka on the right, and Mevka just kind of looks a little bit with disdain at her view screen, and you're guessing that's probably because the Klingons are there as well. And she says, "Well, I believe, as you can tell, there is nothing in this system that would implicate us."
Au contraire, Commander. Despite some subtle attempts from your vessel, my science officer was able to pick up warp trails coming to and from Romulan space. And I'll just tap some buttons on my console just to display the ion trail specifics to her.
Mm-hmm.
So one will, one showed up here. Oh, around the same time the Grion sun decided to implode, and then another one showed up about a week later, and seemingly launched a Starfleet tube or a Starfleet torpedo. Now, why would the Starfleet torpedo be launched a week after the sun's collapse? And again, why would the ion trails both come to and from Romulan space, Commander?
This seems like a pathetic attempt by the Federation to implicate the Romulan Star Empire in a weapons test.
As a there's a human investigator of great literature known as Sherlock Holmes, who once said that data must let's see, how did it go?
Eliminate the impossible, whatever is left, however unlikely, must be the truth.
Thank you. That if you eliminate the impossible through data, then whatever data is left will be the truth. And in this case, the data that we have points squarely into Romulan space. Now, perhaps that you have operators acting inside Romulan space that are trying to set up a Federation. Perhaps these Nausicaan weapons dealers that we were trying to track down when your vessel decloaked.
If I may, Captain.
Absolutely.
Commander, your mere act of interference with their scans implicates you in this. If you were to cease and desist this, these ion trails would become as evident to you as they are to us, and to the IKSS Nib.
Mevka's face subtly changes, and I'm going to say, Panek, since you are the closest species to Romulans, being Vulcan, you're going to at least determine that she has just made her mind up about something. And Mevka says, "Well, I believe there is only one prudent course of action, then."
Indeed.
And sure enough, and we're going to end the session here because I do have to do some notes, the Intraku begins powering weapons and aiming them at the Ophion. Yep. So you go to Red Alert, and right before the battle starts to happen is where we end the scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say you guys can keep the momentum between sessions, because you're going to need it for Starfleet or Starship combat. But other than that, good session, I thought. And we'll talk as players afterwards. But for anyone watching, thank you, obviously, for doing so. And we will see you next week. So bye-bye.